are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone. God of heaven and earth, you are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone.
I will put my hope in you, Lord. You alone are everything I need. My hope is in you alone, in you alone. I will put my hope in you, Lord. You alone are everything I need. My hope is in you alone, in you alone.
Heaven and earth, you are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone. Heaven and earth, you are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone. God of heaven and earth, you are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone. God of heaven and earth, you are amazing. You hold me up with your hand. You give me faith, and I will put my hope in you alone, in you alone.
Forgiveness means deciding that someone who has wronged you doesn't have to pay. When you forgive someone, it's like you are giving them a do-over, a chance to rewrite the story, a chance to restore the friendship. I think we all need a do-over from time to time, right? Our memory verse for this month comes from Paul's letter to the Colossians. It reminds us why it's so important that we forgive. Put up with one another. Forgive one another if you are holding something against someone. Forgive just as the Lord forgave you. Colossians 3:13. I'll go slower and explain the actions. Put up with. So you're going to put your thumbnail on your chin and drag it down. Forgive. Brush your hand across your palm twice like you're wiping away sins. One another. So you're going to orbit your thumbs like two friends running around. Holding. Reach up like you're a kid holding your mom's hand. Against. Like your hand is driving into your other hand and hitting a wall. Lord, where we do our L sash. Let's put it all together. Put up with one another. Forgive one another if you are holding something against someone. Forgive just as the Lord forgave you. Colossians 3:13.
God's love never fails and it lasts forever. Our God is great. Our God is great. My God is with me. Yes, He's with me wherever. Our God is great. Our God is great. He's God is great.
Our God is awesome.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
Our God is great.
Our God is awesome.
Celebrate.
Celebrate.
He's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams, monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God, bigger than my wildest dreams, monumental love, eternal love for you and me. 'Cause he's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God. Our God's an awesome God.
We're picking back up in God's big story, which we've been following all the way from the very beginning. At this point in the story, Jesus, the promised Savior, had arrived. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and when he grew up, he traveled from town to town, teaching and healing people. Everywhere Jesus went, crowds of people came to see him. Religious leaders, everyday people, and even people who were considered outcasts. One day, Jesus and his followers were on their way to Jerusalem, and they passed through the town of Jericho. As usual, a huge crowd gathered to see Jesus. They pressed in from all sides along the road, hoping to see Jesus, hear what he had to say, and for some of them, to be healed of their sickness. But one man was stuck on the edge of the crowd, a tax collector named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector, which meant he was very rich. Now, there's something you have to understand about tax collectors like Zacchaeus. They were not well liked by other people in town. Tax collectors worked for the Roman government that was ruling over the Jewish people at the time. Tax collectors like Zacchaeus collected people's money that they owed to the government. But to make matters worse, tax collectors often demanded extra money that they kept for themselves. Basically, Zacchaeus had gotten rich by taking money from his neighbors. But get this, Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was coming to town, and he really wanted a chance to see Jesus. But this was a challenge for Zacchaeus, because he was short, and the crowd was very large. So what did Zacchaeus do? He climbed a sycamore fig tree so he could see Jesus coming by. When Jesus was right below Zacchaeus, he looked up. Jesus knew everything that Zacchaeus had done, including the way that he had taken extra money from the people. Jesus could have ignored Zacchaeus or even called him out in front of everyone for the sins and wrong things he had done. But instead, Jesus called out Zacchaeus' name and spoke kindly to him. Jesus said, "Zacchaeus, come down at once. I must stay at your house today." Zacchaeus' heart must have been filled with joy as he climbed down the tree and rushed ahead to prepare his home for Jesus. As Jesus approached Zacchaeus' house, many people had followed. They couldn't believe that Jesus would choose to hang out with someone who had done so many wrong things. They whispered among themselves, saying, "Jesus has gone to be the guest of a sinner." Zacchaeus was amazed at the love Jesus had shown him, and he knew he couldn't keep on living his old life. Listen to what happened next. Zacchaeus said, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of what I own to those who are poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay it back. I will pay back 4 times the amount I took. Wow! So not only was Zacchaeus going to give away half of everything he owned to people who were living in poverty and didn't have money, but he also promised to pay back 4 times the amount of money that he had wrongfully taken from people. Listen to what Jesus then said to Zacchaeus. Today, salvation has come to your house. You are a member of Abraham's family line. The Son of Man came to look for the lost and to save them. Incredible! Jesus had forgiven Zacchaeus for what he had done wrong. Zacchaeus' heart had changed, and he wanted to make things right. In a single day, Zacchaeus went from being an outcast to being a beloved follower of Jesus. His entire life was changed because of Jesus' love and forgiveness. Zacchaeus promised to give away half of what he had, plus 4 times the amount he had cheated and taken from anyone. That might have been nearly all the money that he had. But it didn't matter to Zacchaeus because Jesus had forgiven him completely. We can see this in Zacchaeus' life in a big way. When you forgive others, it can change them. As a chief tax collector, Zacchaeus had spent most of his life taking from others. But when Jesus forgave him, Zacchaeus changed. He went from taking from others to giving most of his money away. It was all because of the way that Jesus loved him and forgave him. God's forgiveness can do that too. It can change people. And when we forgive people, it gives them the chance for a do-over. When you forgive others, it can change them. Say that with me. When you forgive others, it can change them. I know it's true that God's forgiveness has changed me. When you ask God to forgive you, it frees you from carrying around feelings of guilt and of fear. Forgiveness sets you free and allows you to love God and love others. I know it makes me feel so good when someone is willing to forgive me. Forgiveness is an amazing way to treat others the way you want to be treated. Of course, forgiving others doesn't always mean that the person will change, but it offers them the opportunity to change. It gives them a chance to choose to live differently. Let's head to small group and talk more about how God can help us forgive. Have a great week.